Bring the lights down low, time to start the show. Lights, camera, you know what we mean. Behold the magic of the silver screen. Some movies rock, some movies shock. They're powerful or odd. We cover them all on your favorite pod. They're dramatic, funny, sometimes scary. That's not weird, that's extraordinary. I got the need and I've got a fever. So play me a little dream weaver. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math. It's the 30-something movie podcast. Be excellent to each other. Peace out and word to your mother. They're from the best decades. Movie magic that never fades. Lightsabers clash, phasers set to stun. Action packed from dusk till dawn. We have deep thoughts and questions three. Come share our love of the movies we see. Life moves pretty fast. Some will fizzle and some movies last. I understood there would be no math. It's the 30-something movie podcast.
Gentlemen, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to start off the 1996 season of the 30-something movie podcast by talking about a little movie we might have seen once or twice, a little movie that a few of us on here might enjoy, and as well as the rest of the franchise. Your mission, you have no choice but to accept it, is to talk about Mission Impossible.
Okay, I mean, if you're gonna make me.
I don't make monkeys. I just train
Oh, I
them.
told you before, I don't make monkeys, I just train them.
Ooh.
All right. It is Mission Impossible time. It is our first episode of 1996. Gentlemen, it's a little surreal to be here. We're on the back half of the 90s.
Oof, jeez. Where did that time go?
I mean, it feels like not that long ago that we were... I mean, we started on the back half of the 80s, but it kind of feels like we hit the 90s, and it wasn't really that long ago that we hit the 90s, and so now it feels weird to be on the back half of the 90s.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 90s, Mr. Bonks.
Yes. Yes. So, 96. So we are starting this one off. Actually, this has a little bit. It's a double dose of special things for this episode. This is episode number 625 of the podcast. So it's already a special episode. And then on top of that, we're starting off 1996 with Mission Impossible. This is going to be a bit of an action-packed month for us. This is our January, we're calling our Double Lives month. We have Mission Impossible. Next week is Multiplicity. Then we've got The Phantom, and then we've got The Cable Guy. And if you're checking us out over on Patreon, we've got a movie on Patreon from 1996 called Freeway, starring Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland. And then it took me a little bit to decide what I was going to talk about for 15 minutes on our Patreon short. I got it narrowed down. It's a TV show that started in 1996, and I'm going to talk about... We'll take 15, 20 minutes. We'll talk about it. It's a TV show my dad absolutely loved. I'm not going back and rewatching every episode before I talk about it, but we'll talk in general. 1996 TV show Nash Bridges for January.
Beach Marin and Don Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don Johnson trying to be Miami Vice all over again.
Mm-hmm. Don Johnson, born not that far from where my parents where they grew up.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He was born in Flat Creek, Missouri. And that is really not that far at all. It is it's in Berry County, Missouri. And it is, I believe that Flat Creek is just a few miles away from Cassville, Missouri, which is where most of my family ended up growing up. That's where my parents went to school. And so, yeah, we'll talk about that on the Patreon short. But we're not talking about that this time. We're talking about Mission Impossible this time. So I'm sure we have a lot to cover with this one. So some of the things we do, if this is your first time joining us, I know it's the beginning of a new year for us, but this may be one of your first times joining us on the podcast. We cover movies that hit their 30th anniversary. So all of our movies this year will be from 1996. And the first episode of each month, we do a little dive back into the DeLorean I have a DeLorean that's parked right over here in my basement, inexplicably. And we like to jump in the DeLorean during the first episode of each month and head back in time. So we're going to head back in time real quick to January of 1996.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious.
All right, January 1st of 1996, after 27 years, Betty Rubble debuts as a Flintstone vitamin.
Oh,
Took a long time.
yeah. Wow.
January 3rd, 1996, was the first successful clamshell flip mobile phone, the Motorola StarTAC.
I love that phone.
I don't know that I had a StarTAC. Did you? You
It
had
was- I definitely did.
one? Okay.
I got one late, though. I felt like it was a hand-me-down from somebody, but
Yeah. I feel like the first one we ever had, was it a Nokia?
probably.
Might have been a Nokia.
There were a lot of those.
Yeah.
The thing I miss the most about those phones, not going to lie,
Yeah.
the satisfaction of hanging up on
Closing it.
someone,
Yeah.
closing that.
Yeah.
Done. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the earliest flip phone we had was probably the Nokia flip phone. I don't think we had a Motorola. I remember it was my dad bought it for my mom, or that was his excuse. And that was like our home phone that we had while we were living in California for the 3 months. The 3 months we lived in California, that is the phone that we had while we were there. And then eventually everybody ended up getting, once that phone kind of went away, everybody ended up getting not the flip phone, but the Nokia. Oh gosh, it was like the blue one. Wasn't the flip phone, but it was I forget what number phone it was, but it was like that phone that like everybody seemed to have in the mid to late 90s for a stretch. But yeah. January 9th, TV sitcom Third Rock from the Sun, starring John Lithgow, Jane Curtin, debuts on NBC.
Jane, you.
Yes. Yes. January 17th, the 11th Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, David Bowie, Jefferson Airplane, Little Willie John, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Pink Floyd, the Shirelles, the Velvet Underground, Pete Seeger, and Tom Donahue.
Rock and roll, man.
That's quite the group there.
Yeah.
Born in January of 1996, Florence Pugh, born January 3rd. She is Black Widow's sister in the newer Marvel movies, born in Oxford, England on January 3rd.
And outstanding in the new Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Top books in January of 96, The Christmas Box by Richard Paul Evans, The Horse Whisperer by Nicholas Evans. I'm not sure that they're related. And Intensity by Dean Koontz. Top movies for January of 96, 12 Monkeys, From Dusk Till Dawn, and Mr. Holland's Opus. And then top song, what I found was, in looking up the top songs, apparently Mariah Carey is going to be holding on to the top song spot for at least half of the year of 1996.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she had a run there, didn't she?
Mm-hmm. Because she is, let me go back to my list here real quick, because the one that she's in, One Sweet Day, Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men, that is going to take us from January all the way through until mid-March as the top song. And then she's going to...
It's not even Christmas time.
No, I know. And then she's going to come back for 2 weeks in May with Always Be My Baby. And I think that just about adds up to maybe half the year.
That's just nuts.
I mean, frankly, it's when you look at the top artists, we'll just say this right now, since this is the first episode of this year. We'll say it right now. When you look at the list of the top songs in 1996, it's either something that Mariah Carey was part of, or it's the Macarena.
Ah. Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. Los Del Rio with Macarena Bayside Boys Mix. That was 14 weeks at number one. Mariah Carey spent 13 weeks at number one. So maybe not a ton of variety in 1996 when it comes to Billboard Hot 100 number one songs.
Unfortunately,
But it is what it is.
I think that statement is all too true all the time.
Mm-hmm. Could be. Yeah. All right. On to Trivia Pursuits. So this is where we give you kind of a breakdown of who was in the movie, how it got made, all the different people, a little bit of trivia, and then we run through and give you we do the trailer audio so you can listen to that, and then we run through and we give you real quick a 10 major moments, which is meant to kind of help break down the plot a little bit. If you have not seen it recently, we do always recommend that you go watch the movie first before you listen to our episodes. But if you don't have time, or if you watched it and you just need a little bit of a refresher, then we'll have those 10 major moments for you to kind of jog your memory a bit, or maybe sit you down and interrogate you until you remember it, as the case may be in movies like this. So this movie came out on May 22nd, 1996, with a rating of PG-13, 110 minutes, 1 hour and 50 minutes. Directed by Brian De Palma, who did Scarface and The Untouchables. Screenplay by David Koepp, who did Jurassic Park and Spider-Man. Robert Towne, who did Chinatown and Shampoo. Producers were Tom Cruise, who did Rain Man and Jerry Maguire. Paula Wagner, who did The Last Samurai and Vanilla Sky. Composer was Danny Elfman, who did Batman 89 and Spider-Man. Cinematographer by Stephen H. Burham, who did The Untouchables and Hairspray. Editor was Paul Hirsch, who did Star Wars Return of the Jedi and Rush. Production company was Cruise Wagner Productions and Paramount Pictures. Budget was $80 million. Box office was $457.7 million.
Oh, Lord.
So it made some money.
Mm-hmm.
It did okay, didn't it?
Now, here's the part. Now is the time on Sprockets when we make Pat angry. I'm going to share what the Flickmetrics score was and allow Pat to add his commentary.
Ooh. Flickmetrics is coming out of the theater.
No, Flickmetrics Cinema Score is coming out of the theater.
Oh.
Flickmetrics is a website that kind of takes IMDb, Letterboxd, Metacritic. It takes a bunch of different sites and aggregates them or averages them and gives a score based on that. So I'll do Cinema Score first. Cinema Score was a B+.
Okay.
Which I'm a little shocked. I'm a little surprised because B+ is almost like middle of the road. You kind of expect a lot of movies like this are at least an A-.
Okay.
So I'm a little surprised. I was very surprised by the Flickmetrics score for this, which is averaging a bunch of different sites where it collects both users and critics scores and all of that. Flickmetrics gives this a 69%.
Whoa. Where does it get dinged, I wonder?
I don't know. I found that one very confusing.
I agree.
So I don't know.
And then the question is that emblematic of the times, or is that like a later, because sometimes people get on and ding these movies later, right?
Right.
You know, like there's.
So there's a ton of ratings on here. Letterboxd and IMDb is, that's like, that's your average users. That's your people logging in to, add their stuff in there. And there is easily close to 1 million ratings for this movie on Letterboxd. There's 500,000 plus ratings on Letterboxd. There's almost 500,000 ratings on IMDb. Those two give it a 72%, which I'm still a little surprised. But I think it's the critics. It's the critics that didn't like it because Metacritic, and I think the other one might be Rotten Tomatoes critics, Metacritic gives it a 59%.
Wow.
And I think what is the Rotten Tomatoes critic score is a 61%. So I don't know. I didn't actually go and read reviews from critics to see what it was that they didn't like about it. But my guess is maybe you had some critics that really liked the TV show and they just didn't like the movie.
That could be.
Yeah, there was a time that there was a. It seems early for that, but I do remember a very vocal pushback against there's no new ideas in Hollywood. They just keep retreading everything.
Yeah.
And it was kind of pre-cinematic universe and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
So it's interesting because, I'm skimming through Roger Ebert's review of it. And I remember this when it came out at the time. I remember, so a couple things. I remember my dad, who liked it, was always like, yeah, I'm kind of bummed what they did with Jim Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
They made him
Mm.
out to be the bad guy. And he said, I remember him just kind of being like, yeah, why do that? He was the hero in the show. Like what's the purpose of that? And I mean, obviously I can't have him speak to everybody that kind of panned it. And I was scanning through, and it's interesting because I remember at the time a lot of people talked about the plot being convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was just like too much or too confusing or too, not clear enough. And then there's all the action set pieces that like, that are there to kind of keep the interest of everybody. I guess I never remember being confused. I think I remember the first time seeing it being like, okay, well, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy? Well, okay, what's going on? But it was just kind of like people were double dealing, and then he kind of got it all figured out, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I wonder if that's what it was, that just in that time they wanted something more simple and straight ahead. Whereas now when we look back on it, I don't know, maybe we're just used to more convoluted plots, right? Like
Could be, for sure.
Well, and I wonder too if, because the first one to me always feels a little bit more, it feels more spy movie and less action movie. And I know that feels weird to say about a Mission Impossible movie, but
Right.
I do feel like to a certain degree we ramp up the action in the other movies. But I do feel like this one, and I didn't watch the original TV show, so I might have seen an episode of it at some point. But so I don't know, is this, for if either of you guys have watched the original TV show, is this more in line with what the TV show would have been like, more spycraft type stuff? Because this one definitely feels, while there is action, like I'm not knocking the action in it, it does feel like they become much more action movies as the series goes on.
Well, yeah, it's like the Fast and the Furious movies started out as car racing movies,
Sure.
and then they just turned into a spectacle.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. There is more spycraft in this. I don't know enough about the original show, Pat.
You know what? I don't either, other than I think it was, if the little bits that I have seen and that I remember is it was kind of tune in each week. There's like something challenging that they've got to solve, right? And that kind of summed it up. But
Mhm.
I mean, to compare a show from the 60s to a movie in the 90s in terms of more or less action, I mean, I don't know how that would rate,
Mhm.
right? And that could be very well, that could be it as well, right? Like, people that are used to seeing the show, suddenly this movie takes it in a different direction.
Mhm.
Like the violence and the action pieces, maybe it just was like, this was not the Mission Impossible that I grew up with. And, and maybe there was a pushback against that, right?
Yeah.
Now it's funny because like, and I know we've had this discussion about Mission Impossible. I get where some of them, especially the immediate sequels, tend to fall right into action with less spycraft. But I don't know, I was watching it this time really with an eye for that. Now, there are some spots where, in this one where there's more dialogue, okay, and they're kind of working things through, and, he's typing on a computer and trying to figure something out, or it's, they're having like discourse and trying to like, convince the other person of something, or, whatever. There's more dialogue. I don't know. I don't get struck with this franchise. Now, like I said, the immediate sequel, who I think was John Woo, the director, that definitely takes a different tact and dials up the action. But I think the later ones, I think kind of come back and still strike that balance where, there is like the spycraft and sneaking around. And,
Mhm.
I think the big thing was always in the show too, they have to do a thing that is seemingly impossible, right? Like this one is breaking into that room where if you make too much noise, raise too much temperature, or sweat on the floor, the alarm is going to sound. Oh my gosh, how are we going to do that? And so they've got, there's some elaborate thing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
With these movies, I always was struck that the different directors up until like the later ones when I think there was more consistency, every director kind of brought their own little something to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's the thing I noticed more is like, okay, De Palma, he's going in this direction. Right. Okay. And then it's John Woo, I think, does the second one. Okay. That's a different direction. Okay. Well, then the
it's
next
John
guy.
Woo.
Yeah. So that was the thing that got me, is that it was more, the movies were just more reflections of the director that helmed them. But yeah, that's the only thing I could hazard a guess in terms of, why the critics pan the movie, is maybe this was not the Mission Impossible that they grew up with. And so, they're going to push back against it. I don't know, because it was cool.
Yeah. So those are the scores, 69 and B+. The actors in this one: Tom Cruise played Ethan Hunt. He was in Top Gun and Jerry Maguire. John Voight played Jim Phelps. He was in Midnight Cowboy and Deliverance. Henry Jemme played Eugene Kitteridge. He was in Clear and Present Danger and The Ice Storm. Emmanuel Bert played Claire Phelps. She was in Manon des Sources and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Jean Reno played Franz Krieger, who was in Leon the Professional and Ronin. Ving Rhames was Luther Sickle. He was in Pulp Fiction and Con Air. Kristen Scott Thomas was Sarah Davies. She was in The English Patient and 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Vanessa Redgrave was Max. She was in Julia and Howard's End. And I'm gonna butcher this name. Olga Dapkunate.
God bless you.
Yep.
Yes, close enough.
Played Hannah Williams. She was in Burnt by the Sun and 7 Years in Tibet. Let me try to retranslate that. Bork. Okay.
I knew that was coming.
That's about what I heard.
I apologize if that's Swedish, Danish, whatever Danish, whatever it is. I do apologize for my awful pronunciation.
You made the attempt.
And thank you to the Swedish chef for stepping in just when we needed him.
Yes.
It's nice to have him hanging around once in a while.
He's not the chef we deserve, but he's the one we need right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez was uncredited in this one, played Jack Harmon. He was in The Breakfast Club and Stand By Me. Marcel Uris played Alexander Golitsyn. He was in Interview with the Vampire and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. And Dale Dye played Frank Barnes. He was in Platoon and the Pacific miniseries from 2010.
Barnes had such a great role.
Mm-hmm.
Just follow Kittredge around and be the taller guy.
Yeah. I want to be the tall guy someday.
Say dumb stuff once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
so Kittredge looks better than you.
Right. Right.
That was pretty much his deal.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, some of the trivia for this, which is a couple of quick trivia things for this one. I think part of it was, as we kind of already mentioned, some diehard fans of the TV show were upset that Jim Phelps gets turned into the villain for this one. Apparently, there was an earlier script version of the movie where they did bring back the entire cast of the TV show only to have them killed in the first act.
Oh, Jesus.
Jeez.
That would have made people real happy.
What's that?
That's the Alien 3 treatment of Mission Impossible.
I was going to say, did they have the same writers there?
Yeah. Mission Impossible. Even when you win, you lose.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see a couple other things. This is one of the first big movies to film in Prague after the fall of communism in 1989. This one was kind of fun. Apparently, the IMF team gathering around to discuss the mission that is opening the movie was added at the suggestion of George Lucas, who said that the movie needed a quote-unquote spaghetti scene, which is a scene where they're all sitting around discussing what's next. All right, real quick, here's the synopsis. We'll play the trailer for you, and then we'll jump into 10 major moments to kind of recap the movie for you, just if you haven't seen it in a little while, just to kind of get you up to speed. In a world where trust is the deadliest weapon, IMF agent Ethan Hunt must race against time. Framed as a traitor with his team dead, hunted by the agency he served, and facing a shadowy enemy, he must steal back the secrets that could save or doom them all, because failure is not an option, and the mission is impossible.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps. This is your mission should you choose to accept it. Should you or any member of your IM force be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow all knowledge of your actions. Ethan Hunt will be your point man, as usual. Good luck, Jim.
simple game. Is he serious?
Always.
It's much worse than you think.
We're being ambushed. Abort, that's an order. They knew we were coming. Do you read me?
I don't care how he did it. I want to know why he did it.
You're worried about me.
Why you survived.
I'm sure we can find something I have that you need.
No one sent me.
These guys are trained to be ghosts. Let's not waste time chasing after him. Just make him come to us. Find something that's personally important to him, and you squeeze.
This whole operation was a decoy.
I can understand you're very upset.
You've never seen me very upset.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
This podcast will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Well, that wouldn't get us many downloads.
Probably not. No. They can download it if they choose to accept it. Major moments for this one, 10 major moments. After a successful mission in Kyiv, Jim Phelps and his IMF team head to Prague to stop rogue agent Alexander Golitsyn from stealing the CIA's knock list. Instead, everything falls apart. Golitsyn is killed, the list is stolen. Ethan Hunt watches his entire team, including Jim, seemingly die, leaving him as the lone survivor. During a tense debrief in a restaurant with IMF director Eugene Kittredge, Ethan realizes the Prague op was actually bait, a setup designed to flush out a mole inside the IMF. When it becomes clear Kittredge suspects him, Ethan makes a dramatic exit using explosive chewing gum, officially becoming a fugitive.
Red light, green light.
Red light, green.
That was an incredibly full fish tank, too.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was just like a kind of a big but normal. Maybe it looked like a 10,000 gallon fish tank. It really, by the water coming out, the size of it seemed a little smaller, but that was an impressive amount of water.
Yeah, Les, their first try at that was actually at a Red Lobster. And when he goes to blow up the lobster tank that's sitting right there in the lobby, less impressive.
Yes, that's right.
That's right. It gets Kittredge's shoes wet, and it's more of an annoyance than anything.
It's more like a slip and slide.
It's right.
It's like in dodgeball when he tries to bribe him, and he opens up the briefcase, and it's like a stack of bills or whatever it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
It gets the floor wet, so when Kittredge starts to try to run after Ethan, he kind of Scooby-Doos it and does like the shuffling of the legs.
He didn't slip on his tea, did he?
Right. Yeah. Back at the Prague safe house, Ethan digs into the mystery of Job 314, discovering it's a reference in the Bible to Job 314, and that Job is the mole's code name. Things get even stranger when Claire Phelps shows up alive, explaining she faked her death after Jim warned her the team was compromised. Ethan tracks down Max, the shadowy arms dealer tied to the knock list. He claims the list she bought is fake and rigged with a tracker. When Kittredge's team crashes the meeting, Ethan and Max narrowly escape. Ethan ups the ante, promising the real list and the mole's identity for $10 million. To pull this off, Ethan recruits 2 disavowed IMF agents, the elite hacker Luther Stickle and sketchy but capable pilot Franz Krieger. This is the birth of Ethan's found family IMF team, people who trust him even when the entire agency does not. The crew infiltrates CIA headquarters in Langley in one of the most iconic sequences of a 90s action movie. Ethan is lowered into the vault like a human pendulum, grabbing the real knock list without setting off a single alarm. Barely. They escape to London with the list intact. This is where I'm going to stop for just a second, and I've said this on the podcast before. I remember seeing this movie when I did not want to do whatever shopping the rest of my family wanted to do when we were visiting San Antonio, the summer that this came out. I said, I want to go see a movie. And so by myself, I went to go see a movie. Mission Impossible was the one that was playing at the time. So I went to go see it while everybody was shopping. And it got to that scene. And this is one of like my top movie watching memories ever, is being in that theater with a bunch of other people. And you could have heard the smallest pin in the world drop, because during that entire sequence, I don't even remember how long that sequence takes. During that entire sequence, no one breathed.
Yes. And there was no sound going because, it was 1, 2, toast, right? Like, so they don't have any sound. And John's, even like you pointed out in one of the later movies, there was no soundtrack, which just added to the tension in that whole scene. So great.
Yeah. That was the perfect choice to have no sound and no music during that scene. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of my top movie memories of seeing a movie in a movie theater. Mm-hmm. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you go see movies in movie theaters for moments like that. Because you can't quite get the same thing in your living room.
No. No one's ever quiet. There's too much. There's always talking.
Correct. Can you pause it while I go to the bathroom?
No.
This is not how we watch movies.
No.
The crew infiltrates CIA headquarters. No, I already said that. Krieger briefly walks off with the list, but Ethan smartly swaps it out. When Kittredge falsely arrests Ethan's mother and uncle to draw him out, Ethan plays along, intentionally letting the IMF trace his phone call. That's when Jim Phelps suddenly resurfaces, claiming he survived and that Kittredge is the mole, but Ethan's already pieced it together using a Bible traced back to Jim's old Chicago posting. So everybody's alive at this point. Claire's alive. Jim is alive. You thought that they were dead, but they're not quite dead. They're feeling much
alive,
better.
Baby.
They're feeling much better. And in fact, Jim might go for a walk because he's not dead yet.
He feels happy.
Oh, just hang around. He'll be dead any minute.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Or the what do you get in the first Austin Powers movie? I'm not dead, but I'm very badly burned.
Yes.
You shot me. You shot me in the arm. Why would you do that? Yeah. Pretending to believe Jim, Ethan sets up the final exchange with Max aboard the TGV to Paris, secretly inviting Kittredge as well. It's all theater designed to expose the real mole in front of everyone at once. In the baggage car, Claire realizes too late that Jim is actually Ethan in disguise. The real Jim shows up, kills Claire when she hesitates, and takes Ethan hostage. But Ethan streams the entire confrontation live to Kittredge, finally exposing Jim as the traitor.
Hello, Mr. Phelps.
Oh, Mr. Phelps. The other thing about that train scene that I love is the tension of watching it try to download.
Yeah.
And that when I think a lot of people get introduced to the idea of, a cell signal. We go through the tunnel, we lose cell service. Like, I think at that point, 96, I don't think a ton of people would have had cell phones in 96. And so you kind of are like, this seems a little spy-ish or sci-fi. And then a year later, we were all like, what is roaming?
Yeah.
This is awful.
Yes. I thought that too. Just all the different, what was the Hackers had just come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year, or no, last year, because this is now. When will then be now? But, there was a lot of logging into Usenet and logging into different things and different tech stuff that would have seemed so futuristic and space age. And when you look at the movies now, they're doing all sorts of hacker things and looking at cameras, and it's all this tech stuff that you're like, yeah, okay, maybe that's a little bit not believable. But I feel like a lot of what they showed in this movie was just as futuristic and whiz bang as a lot of the Mission Impossible stuff that we see now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Also incredible that the franchise has been going for 30 years.
Well, yes. And then this movie came out 30 years after the original TV show.
And then adding that in.
Yeah. Random question is, I was trying to remember, because here's the little nerd segment of our podcast. Nerd alert. Is the discs, I'm trying to remember, the discs he uses to download the knock list, those are not zip discs, are they?
No,
but it's something. Is it like a floppy disk with like a transparent case?
That's what it looked like to me. It also reminded me of a mini disc used for audio.
Oh, yeah.
But bigger.
Okay.
Which is essentially a floppy disk. I think it was just a clear floppy disk. I really do.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh, do you have...
Like, it might be something called a 230 megabyte, 3.5 magneto-optical disc.
Okay.
Yes, actually from the maxoptics.com website. The 230 megabyte, 3.5 inch magneto optical discs have been in use in the medical, telecommunication, avionics, and IT community for over 15 years. First introduced in 1996, the 90 millimeter MO discs have been at the forefront of archival solutions when robust data storage is critical.
Interesting.
And it looks like, here's a little note. As of the end of the first quarter of 2012, Sony is the last remaining magneto-optical disc manufacturer. Some models are at end of life, therefore no longer manufactured by Sony. That would include the 128 megabyte, 230 megabyte, and 540 megabyte discs. If you want to, you can buy a TDK 230 megabyte rewritable MO disc for $66.50.
But the question of the day is, if I had the disc, would I be able to use it in any way?
If you broke into CIA headquarters and dangled yourself upside down from the ceiling, yes.
Oh, okay. Right on then.
So, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to break into CIA headquarters, dangle yourself upside down from the ceiling, just so you can use this 230 megabyte MO disc. We're nothing if not thorough here at the 30-something movie podcast.
Indeed.
So, I don't know. Anytime, because I remember when my dad, I've mentioned this on the podcast before too. I remember when my dad, like every once in a while, my dad would buy stuff that was on the quote unquote cutting edge of what, consumers could buy. And I remember when he came home with a zip drive and some zip disks. And and I was like, Dad, what is this? He's like, it can hold 100 megabytes. And I was like, what? We'll never need anything ever again. It's like, yeah. And then I'm not sure we ever used it for anything because I don't think he could quite figure out, like, what do I need to put 100 megabytes of stuff onto? Like, if I'm storing, like, no one else I know has a zip drive. So if I'm doing this, it's just for myself. And I'm not sure he ever really actually archived anything using the zip disks. But it was cool because then you could pretend you were playing Mission Impossible.
Exactly.
That's the benefit right there.
It's you take the cushions off the couch, the floor is lava, and you've got a zip disk. So Jim escapes onto the roof of the speeding train and tries to flee via helicopter with Krieger, but Ethan hooks the chopper to the train, drags it into the Channel Tunnel, and blows it apart with what else? More explosive gum. With the knock list recovered, Ethan and Luther are reinstated. Ethan hesitates about returning until a flight attendant casually offers him his next mission, this time as team leader.
Could I interest you in the cinema of the Ukraine?
No, a hot towel will be fine, thank you. All right. Those are our major moments here. We're going to go deep, not just deep thoughts, deep undercover thoughts.
And now, Deep Thoughts.
I have an opinion on this matter.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
I like it a lot. Wow. It's very deep. Thank you.
All right. I've already mentioned the first time I saw this one. It was the summer it came out, San Antonio, Texas, in the movie theater. Everybody trying to break the world record for holding your breath. Where was the first time and place you guys saw this?
Would have been the local movie theater. I don't know which one. I mean, back in the day, it would have been Cineplex Odeon, and there was River Tree, and then up, more towards where I'm at now. Well, not now, but where I grew up was Ridge Plaza. It probably would have been one of those. Went with my buddies, went and saw it. Theater, that would have definitely been it.
Yeah. What about you, Bo?
I gotta figure, like a lot of the movies we've talked about in the most recent years, it was probably HBO or rental. Probably a rental at Blockbuster, now that I think about it.
Okay. We were just talking about that the other day. The kids? The kids were out somewhere and they decided they wanted to pick up. They didn't want what we were having for dinner, I guess, and they were out doing something. They might have been Christmas shopping at the last minute. And they're like, oh, we're just going to pick up some Little Caesars pizza. and we're just going to have that. Okay. And so they do. And my son was like, yeah, I saw the commercials on TV. I thought Little Caesars was going to be better.
No.
And I said, well, the last time I really had good Little Caesars pizza was, well, John, the year was 1988, maybe, or 89.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the Little Caesars was brand new in McKinney, Texas. And it was put in right next to the Blockbuster Video. And on Friday afternoon, we would go with my dad, and he would order the pizza at the Little Caesars next door.
Pizza.
And back when the Little Caesars was still the rectangular-shaped pizza. And we'd order the pizza, and then while the pizza was getting made, we'd go next door, and we'd get our video games and movies we were going to rent for the weekend, and we'd go back and get our pizza, and we'd go home, and it was all good. But not the highest quality pizza. And I would argue, I think living in and around Chicago, you're already at a disadvantage.
Oh, of course. It, for a while, in my opinion anyway, was the higher quality, low cost pizza.
Mm-hmm.
However, giving props where props are due, I feel like Domino's has stepped up their game.
True.
And Domino's might be the better low cost pizza today.
That might be true.
This real sad thing about that conversation is Pizza Hut's demise, but we can talk about that at a later date.
That's true. This will be related to a question we have when we get to 3 questions. So,
indeed.
Yeah. So let's see. Is this the point? Bo lets you and I talk first before I unleash the Pat.
Oh boy!
Is there a way to turn Patrick?
The secret weapon.
Yes. Patrick. Can I turn Patrick into Kraken? Release the Patrickin. There we go.
The Patrickin.
Yeah. So, Bo, what do you love about this movie?
Oh, so many things. The helicopter flying through the tunnel is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Anything with Luther is amazing. He is, Luther is my spirit animal. Let's see. Claire, big fan of Claire.
Yeah.
I like Claire.
Dreamweaver.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I'm a sucker for a spy thriller.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for a heist movie. This has all of that. I already mentioned the helicopter in the tunnel, but not just that, but the scene with Ethan and Jim on top of the train, where Jim has the suction cups and Ethan's trying to fly back and hit him, because when I was watching it this time, I really thought about it. I was like, so many movies would have them standing on that train, trying to fight each other and being stupid, instead of highlighting the high velocity that these trains travel at, and that it would be really hard to stand up and do that.
Mm-hmm. Would you say in French the grand vitesse?
I don't know what that means, but sure. Yeah.
The TGV in France, that was their version of a bullet train.
Ah.
So TGV train in French is a train de grande vitesse, means train of great speed.
Well, yeah.
So
sure.
My understanding is, from a very brief,
there would be no math.
That there would be no math, correct?
Yes.
But a very, very quick search is that the top speed, the TGV world speed record, is 357 miles per hour.
Holy, they don't fool around.
No. Mm-mm.
And okay, sad moment for the infrastructure of the United States that we can't even touch that.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the fact that we have such wide open spaces with which something could travel that, but we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want the bullet train. I want the high speed rail. Yeah, cross country, wide open spaces, whatnot. I want the high speed rail from Chicago to Milwaukee, from Chicago to St. Louis, St. Louis to Denver. I want the I want those. The things that Chicago to Detroit, for crying out loud, like the trips that flying is almost not worth it, because by the time you get to the airport, sit there, wait, because you got to get there early because it might take forever to get through security, but you just don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that 6-hour drive to Detroit, by the time you get to the airport, do all the things, land, it's right on that edge. Minneapolis is another good one that I feel like we're missing out on. Although I will say, while not a high-speed rail, the newer Amtrak line that goes to Minneapolis through Wisconsin Dells is at least a start.
Okay.
But yeah, so as someone who does not like flying, the absence of a high-speed rail system is it saddens me, John. It tasks me.
Top speed, just in case you're curious, top speed of a maglev train in China, I believe, was 435 miles per hour.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go, baby.
And I believe the Hyperloop, if that thing ever gets built someday when we're not alive anymore, my understanding is the top speed of the Hyperloop is theoretically 760 miles per hour. Yeah.
I don't know. Those numbers start making me think people go splat, you know?
I mean, maybe. Yeah. But it'd be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this, I think I may have mentioned this before. This might be my favorite of the Mission Impossible movies. Because I recently did the rewatch before the most recent movie came out. And while I really, really enjoy a lot of the other movies, and the most recent one was awesome. Pat and I went to go see it. Awesome movie. I still think OG Mission Impossible is my favorite of the movies.
Well, to your point earlier, though, I think it was your point. It might have been Pat's. Can you even judge this movie with the others? Because while the characters are the same, it's just such a different. I think they're different genres of movie at some point.
I think,
but if judging them together, this has to be On the Mountain for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's so many scenes, and especially watching this, I mean, in the mid to late 90s, there are several lines from this movie that have become regular, even today, have become regular things that my siblings and I will quote back to each other. Like if something bad happens and one of us needs to like text the other, or we're talking about something and we see something bad happen, we might text each other and just be something like, "Man down, Ethan. Man down." And like there's a few different lines from this movie that we will regularly quote to each other, and that's 30 years later. So it's one of those movies that, like, it's not just me, the person who loves movies, it's the rest of my family too. Like we use some of the lines from this movie in our regular conversation. And so it clearly has a lasting effect with us. But I remember watching this. I remember that scene in particular when he breaks into the CIA and is getting the knock list. That was amazing. The train scene that you've already mentioned. I still like the building the tension with watching the download progress bar going as they're trying to download the list there, or download or upload the list, whatever it is that they're doing with it. Yeah, and just the whole kind of back and forth of the different characters and who can you trust and who can you not trust, and yeah.
Who do you trust?
Hubba hubba hubba, who do you trust? The Batman. And where is the Batman? He's at home, washing his tights. All right. I feel like it's time.
It's release the Kraken.
Release the Patrickin.
For me, I'm a huge fan of the franchise, right? And this movie was the origin of all that. And I think and again, I want to be careful how I phrase this, because I don't want it to be like a pushback, but I don't necessarily see a difference, that drastic of a difference between this one and the later ones, in the idea that, oh, well, more or less things are emphasized and more or less spycraft. But I just, again, I think, and I said it at the beginning, I just see that like the first 3 or 4 movies, maybe even the first 5, all had different directors. So you really see the different directors kind of put their stamp on what direction to take the franchise. And again, I think they were probably kind of experimenting with it, right? Like I think the second one fell more into the action and more into the, racing against time to stop some dastardly plan kind of a thing, as opposed to spycraft and figuring out, okay, well, what's the code? Well, what does this mean? Well, how does this fit together with this? But who sold out who? But I honestly, there's a lot in this movie that I see done in the later ones, right? Like the idea of, they have the guy, like right in the, not the cold open, but the initial story, their initial mission, they got the guy and they get the information, they knock him out, and the next thing you know, all 4 walls are being broken down, and you realize, okay, he's in the middle of a warehouse somewhere, and it was a fake. You see that come back in the later stories, right? The banter between the team. Now, obviously, this team meets with an untimely demise, but the banter, that happens in the later ones, right? Even the thing when the Emilio Estevez character is trying to, which when I first saw it in the theater, by the time I realized, oh, that's Emilio Estevez, and he's not going to be in this very much longer. Oh, okay, he's done. He's gone. And it was literally just as I figured out who it was, those weird claw things came out on the elevator.
Well, that's why it's so interesting that he goes uncredited, right? Like he's got a pretty good death scene,
But they have that discussion where, it's like, so do you have that such and such works on your staff? He is an untrustworthy fellow. And, they're just kind of busting his chops. And I think you get that. And, it kind of hands off, Ving Rhames' character, Luther Stickle, comes in, and he is, other than Ethan Hunt, I think he's the only other guy that's been in all the films.
He misses one, I think.
Yes, but I think he comes back in a post-credit scene, or there's like, he might. It's
like 3 or 4. It's one of the ones in the middle. He's just absent from. It's weird
from the chunk of it, but I want to say they get him in at the end. But the point is, he's in a.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's time for the biannual rewatch in this house, but you get him, and like I was saying before we started recording, man, is there anything cooler than Ving Rhames just sitting there with his cool soul patch and those awesome sunglasses? And the answer is no. There is nothing more cool, and so that's great. Who's on whose side, right? Like the double crossing and the selling out and all of that, and you get that in the later Mission Impossibles. And I'll be very careful with spoilers because I definitely don't want to give it away. But, I feel like they escalate that in the later ones to where you're like, oh man, how are they going to get out of this one? And then you find out, oh no, they've planned ahead. They've got that, and and you see the hallmarks of what's established in this one. Obviously the action sequences, they got to break into the room that can't be broken into. The later films take that to the nth degree, right? They'll, it's the things they've got to break into are even more impossible and even more difficult and more demanding and so forth. But it's still that same idea, right? And so it's a great movie. When I first saw it, I remember the plot felt confusing to me. I was kind of like, well, wait a minute. Who's the good guy? Wait, who's the bad guy? Like, how does that, why is that? And then I remember seeing it again later and going, oh, it's not as confusing as I thought. Yeah, okay, that's a dense plot, but you can follow it. And that's pretty cool. So I really, I don't have much else. The chase on the train was fantastic. The escape from the cafe with the exploding fish tank was fantastic. Tom Cruise, big fan of Tom Cruise, looks fantastic in this movie. He looks great
so
running.
Young.
Yes. Yeah. What was that thing? The later Mission Impossible movies, he's like 5 or 6 years older than the guy that played Jim Phelps was in this one.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it just, and it shows how Tom Cruise has maintained his fitness and energy levels and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I hope it was an adequate. I hope I lived up to your Unleash the Pat introduction. But I just really have nothing but great things to say about the movie. It's just a lot of fun. The characters still have a humanity to them. Right. And by that, I mean, it's not like they're pompous or they're full of themselves, like there's a little hint, wink, wink, nod kind of thing going on. You're not going to get rid of me because I've got the data tape. And, if you don't have that, you have the data tape. Oh, do you mean this data tape? And then he does the, disappearing act. And I mean, that whole thing was awesome. And then he goes over to the garbage can, dumps it, and then he walks out. And then Tom Cruise goes up and picks it out of the garbage can. And it's just cool stuff like that. Made the movie fun to watch. It was cool. But it just, like I said, it had a different look because it was a different director was in charge of it, right? So just some of the camera choices, some of the way the violence is portrayed, the blood, everything, it just bears the hallmarks of that director. So, that's something that makes each of the movies in the franchise, feel unique. So.
Yeah. And I, not to keep harping on this particular scene, but I think when you've got a movie where you've got so many crazy action sequences, you guys have mentioned the train. We've mentioned the red light, green light with the exploding fish tank. We've got we've got all the different action sequences in this. And to my mind, the fact that the one that, in my opinion, beats them all is him dangling from the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have all these crazy action sequences, explosions, pyrotechnics, all kinds of stuff, all these practical effects. And having him dangle from the ceiling is possibly one of the greatest quote-unquote action, not that there's a lot of action going on, but there's a lot of tension going on, action sequences in an action movie that I have ever seen. So, I mean, yes. I think that's the strength of the Brian De Palma filmmaking right there, is that particular scene you can rank that up there with some of the best action sequences of any action movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed. And I think what helps that is just that Tom Cruise does like his own stunts. He does his own things. And so you're seeing that, and it's just, that's him doing it, which makes it awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he had an interview that he just said, with these movies, the stunts, just like in this one, are a big part of it. And he wants to show the audience something new, something that, they're not, you can't believe your eyes, because he's really doing it, right? And, to some of the later ones, he's just like, I don't think anyone's ever done something like this in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool.
And I need to see if I can find a video of it and see how it connects, or what the connection is. But I was reading something somewhere that there is a movie. Is it French? I think it might be a French movie called Topkapi from 1964. The description here is: a con man gets mixed up with a group of thieves who plan to rob an Istanbul museum to steal a jeweled dagger. And this movie is supposed to be where they got some of the inspiration for the Langley vault scene. So that is one that I eventually will probably see if I can try to track down, just to kind of see what the connection is. Like, do they dangle somebody from the ceiling? How do they do that? But I would be curious to know more. All right. Anything else we want to say about Mission Impossible before we jump into 3 questions, before I release the knock list and ask 3 questions?
See it. It's fantastic. It's unique. It has a different look than other movies and other action movies.
Be prepared to get sucked in.
Mm-hmm.
to a franchise, the Mission Impossible cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, question number 1. What is your favorite Tom Cruise movie that's not a Mission Impossible movie?
This one's pretty easy for me. Top Gun, baby.
Top Gun.
I mean, there's so many good ones, but Maverick is the man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could go Cocktail. He's
Yeah.
Brian Flanagan. I wanted to be Brian Flanagan. But Top Gun, man, all the way.
Completely different franchise, different movie, but I still want to be Bob Bosenbeck.
Sure.
Horrible movie.
Mm.
Wonderful scene. Let's take a moment for a little Jennifer Connelly appreciation.
Dreamweaver.
Patrick.
I would have to agree with Bo. I think it's got to be Maverick. Again, so many great roles, so many wonderful things to choose from. But yeah, I just, like you said, Maverick's the man, especially when you bring into what they show the character become in Top Gun Maverick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like, I love that aspect of it. I love how he's, developed that character and played out that character, seeing him in the instructor role, seeing his interactions with Rooster. That's just really great stuff. And especially seeing what Tom Cruise has become since he's played Top Gun. And then just like you see Maverick, the character being developed, Tom Cruise is developed, and he brings all of that to the franchise. So I really love him as Maverick. Like, the honorable mention would have to be Captain Algren from Last Samurai. Which I can't believe is more than 20 years old.
I know.
I mean, that's blowing my mind. But boy, I really just enjoy that movie so much. I love his character in there, and I love what Tom Cruise does with it. So, yeah.
That is my Last Samurai is my pick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have kept my big mouth shut.
No, not at all. Yeah, Last Samurai would be my pick. If it's not a Mission Impossible movie, it's Last Samurai. But Top Gun. In fact, probably the only reason I'm not mentioning Top Gun is because you guys already mentioned it. But Last Samurai is going to be my top pick, and my runner-up is going to be Edge of Tomorrow. I really liked him in that one. All right, question number 2. What is your favorite globe-trotting movie? So a movie where your character or characters travel around the globe, location to location. What is your favorite globe-trotting movie?
I don't even know how to search and come up with a list that might inspire me for this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, first thing that popped into my head, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really, any Indiana Jones movie, because any movie where they do the map with the little plane and the red line,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. I love that bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's peak globetrotting.
Yes.
Yeah. In Latin, Jehovah starts with an I.
I would have to say, great choice with the Indiana Jones franchise. I would have to say going to the Bond franchise, and favorite Bond, possibly my favorite movie. I'm still trying to figure out what that is, but that would be Skyfall.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
another spy franchise, and that's one of the big hallmarks of the Bond movies is just that whole idea of globetrotting, that we're over in this tropical island paradise. Okay, now we're over here in, the middle of the desert. Now we're in the middle of the ocean. Now we're,
And when you're guaranteed a trip to London, at least at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly.
And if you start to include, like, even if you just choose one Bond actor, I mean, just movie to movie, you go from New Orleans to China to, I mean, it's
right.
And they did it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Broccoli's didn't mess around.
Mm-hmm.
No, they did not.
Yeah, I think I would even echo the Skyfall, because anytime you're going to end up in Scotland,
that's right.
That's peak globetrotting for me. Like that'd be the only reason I would become a 00 agent. It's just so I could somehow find a way to end up in Scotland at the end of every movie. Yeah, I was leaning a little bit towards. I wanted to do the Indiana Jones for the same reason Bo did, because the iconic map. Like, just anytime I feel like, there were times where I tried to make, after we'd go on a trip somewhere, I'd try to make a family video where we would have a line going across a map to show where we had been. So, I mean, I think that's like the most iconic way to depict any kind of travel whatsoever, is the Indiana Jones stuff. Then you mentioned the Bond stuff, and in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking some of the locations. I got to go back to probably the Bond movie I've seen the most, and it's one of my favorite. I'm not saying it's the best, but it is one of my favorite Bond movies because I just watched it so much as a kid, is The Spy Who Loved Me.
Ah.
And so I don't know, is it supposed to be, where is it supposed to be? Austria? Like, he's skiing at the beginning of the movie. So you've got the mountains, and then I think he's in Scotland when he comes back and is, like, debriefed at the beginning of the movie to give him what the, Basil Exposition's going to give him what the movie's going to be about. And then he goes to Cairo, and we're spending some time in Egypt. And, we're even at some of the pyramids and some stuff there. And then I think he's in Italy for part of it. Because I think Stromberg's hideout is supposed to be like off Sardinia.
Okay.
Or something like that. And then at some point, I feel like at some point they're in another couple of locations, but I don't know. Just that movie and the different locations involved the fact that you're going from the skiing in the mountains to Cairo, Egypt, to, Italian coast, to all kinds of stuff. Like, that's...
Yes.
I think if you go Bond movie or if you go Indiana Jones movie, you're winning no matter what.
Yeah.
Curveball. And curveball only because I really want to order this whole set on 4K and start watching it immediately. Maybe Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
I changed my answer. Lord of the Rings.
Good choice.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of walking, but that line is moving very slowly across the map.
Yes, it is crawling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's what I'm going with. All right. Question number 3. If you were traveling across a country by train, which country are you choosing?
Oof. I've kind of flown to the coasts, but I have a lot to see the interior of our nation. And I guess I'd probably take a train through the U.S. out west.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that California Zephyr train? Isn't that the one that Dennis would always talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dennis has a real cool plan, for taking the train, and it ties into his writing and the whole thing. But yeah, I guess that would be my choice. I mean, I kind of fell into what's the most famous train? Okay. Well, the Orient Express. And so I looked that up and saw, here's the original route. And then there's like a whole, conglomerate of different tours you can take. And then there's trains from England to Scotland, and there's trains across the channel, and there's so there's tons of options. But obviously the question asks for one. But that was a fun little rabbit hole to fall down and start dreaming about planning vacations and so forth.
The one that I would like to do because I think I would be actually in Scotland. I think I would be okay with driving because I just feel like there's not as many people on the roads, especially once you get outside the cities. But it always I don't know. I don't like the idea of driving in other places that I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
So I did look up at one point in time. There is what is touted as the most scenic train route in all of the British Isles is the West Highland train line. And the reason that is interesting to me is because it actually goes through, unless you're going to drive somewhere, it actually goes through Ranach, which is where, like, that's kind of the area where my ancestors would have been from.
Nice.
And so if I could hop on that train, like, that would take me right through, that should take me, like, right through the area that my ancestors would have been through. I can hop off the train, check it out a little bit. But that is supposed to be some beautiful, I was looking up pictures of it earlier, and some of the pictures when it's winter and everything is covered in snow, not as beautiful, but still fun. But yeah, just some amazing pictures of just going across the Scottish countryside.
That's cool.
So that would be my choice. I'm probably just going to choose Scotland every single time. So, Bo, did we get yours?
No, I've been thinking about it, and I think Patrick's got the right answer. I mean, there are so many things to see in this country of ours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued by the idea of a Russian train just because it's, to go all the way across that vast scape. And I know they have a train that does it, but so much of it I feel like would be just flat, icy ground,
Yeah.
But the concept of it is so amazing that it's hard not to at least entertain it,
Yeah. It was fun to watch when we were watching Ewan McGregor do his motorcycle trip, the long way around. And like that, but on a train.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know that I could balance on a motorbike for that long.
Yeah, no. Pat probably would, but
Pat'd go nuts.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It'd be an adventure, that's for sure.
Pat, I could see it now. Pat and Ewan McGregor riding across the globe.
Yes.
Pat would know what to do with himself for the first week. He'd be like, I'm riding next to Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Obi-Wan Kenobi's right here.
He would. Pat would purposefully slide his motorcycle off the side of the road and fall down and be like, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You're my only hope."
Do you remember that time when you threw a bunch of rocks at Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome. You remember? You remember that time when you were in Star Wars? That was cool.
With Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time that Darth Vader said he was your father? And you were like, no. And he cut your hand off and you screamed. That was Luke Skywalker. That wasn't me.
Wrong guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so stupid. God, I'm stupid.
And that's when he leaves you at the next stop and doesn't tell you when he wakes up in the morning and rides on. Oh, in this guy.
We were supposed to meet at 5, right?
He waves his hand. You will turn left at this next intersection. but you're going right. I know. You will turn left at the next intersection. All right. That, gentlemen, is going to do it for our first episode of 1996, Mission Impossible. Awesome movie. If I don't know where you've been if you haven't seen this one yet, but if you haven't seen it, we just spoiled it. So, I mean, go check it out anyway. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one, Mission Impossible. Come on back next week. Next week, we've got Multiplicity. We've got Michael Keaton and Michael Keaton and Michael Keaton and Michael Keaton. And other people are there too, but mostly Michael Keaton.
Mostly Michael Keaton, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And John Delancey.
Yes.
Which I think this movie is canonical Star Trek because maybe this is all a trick by Q and he has just multiplied this person to cause chaos.
There you go.
I don't know. That's what I'm going with.
Works for me.
Mm-hmm. But next week we got Multiplicity, and then we're following that up the week after with The Phantom, and then ending the month with The Cable Guy. I do want to give a quick. Normally, in the last couple of years, I haven't tried to like give away too much farther into the year stuff that we're doing. But since we mentioned both Ewan McGregor and Natalie Portman, I'm very excited about what we're doing in May. You know, sometimes it's a bit of a stretch for me to come up with topics to fit these movies together.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the month of May worked out so well that I'm so very happy, and I want to spoil it right now. So our Patreon episode in May will be The Mandalorian and Grogu, because that will be when that movie comes out. But also, there's another Star Wars connection for the month of May this upcoming year. The month of May we are calling pre-prequel parts. And the month of May is featuring the following movies, and you can tell me what the connections are. Trainspotting, Mars Attacks, Jingle All the Way, and A Time to Kill.
Those would all star actors in the Star Wars prequel movies, John.
Yes, sir. So Trainspotting with Ewan McGregor. Mars Attacks has a very young Natalie Portman. Jingle All the Way has a very young Jake Lloyd. And A Time to Kill has Samuel L. Jackson.
Huh.
So
my sister-in-law loves the movie Trainspotting.
I remember really enjoying it. I've only seen it a couple of times, and it's been a very long time
since I was just going to say, I haven't seen it in, I don't even know.
The last time I saw it, the year began with a 19.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
So if that says, I think I saw it a couple of times, but
as great as I remember it being, it's not epically rewatchable.
No, in fact, some scenes are hard to watch.
Indeed.
Yeah. Did you ever see Trainspotting 2?
Yes.
Okay. I did not.
I believe I did.
Okay. I feel like I probably want to watch Trainspotting 2 after I rewatch Trainspotting before May.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right.
But this conversation is reminding me that I want to make sure I don't try to cram that in.
Well, yeah.
I'd kind of forgotten about some of the more difficult.
That one, I think that movie needs a little bit of its own space.
It does. It does.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much, guys, for being here with me.
Thank
you, John.
Everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here next week. Clone yourself a few times, and then come on back. And then each of your clones can download next week's episode, and that should like bump our numbers up by like, I don't know, 400% at least.
Yeah.
Well, and if they tell two friends,
right,
and they tell two friends, I mean, we could be
the
top movie podcast in the world,
right? And they clone two friends, and they clone two friends, and so on. And so on. But be careful when you clone the clones.
Yeah, copies of a copy get a little funky.
Yeah, so. But anyway, we'll work all that out next week when we come back for Multiplicity. So be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies. We'll see you back here next time.